The council has assembled. They are eager to hear your report.
Good evening. We begin tonight's meeting of the council by calling the council to order. Hello to everyone, and thanks for joining us. The council is a live Twitch talk show and podcast discussing Star Wars: The Old Republic. I am Elise, and with me are my fellow council members, Redna.
Bye.
Magic Ace. And Sakari.
My piggy bows and I greet you.
This week, we're going to talk about play styles and assorted things like game add-ons and things like parsers and stuff that we would like to see added to the game, maybe. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Here's hoping,
Yay.
right? See if that works.
After this live broadcast, you can find our recorded episodes everywhere podcasts are found, also on our YouTube channel if you really just like our gorgeous faces. However, this episode with his piggy tail bow thingies, I understand if you don't watch our YouTube this week. It's cool. Click the panel below, visit our website at thecouncilswtor.com, check out our social media everywhere, and don't forget our Twitch, because that's kind of important. We also have Facebook at facebook.com/councilswtor, and we have Patreon page, patreon.com/councilswtor. One of the most important, because we always post when we're going to go live, is Twitter at the Just in case you forgot, it's the SWTOR. That's what you're watching.
Yes, we are the Council SWTOR. Okay, before we get into this, let me be super uber quick about the piggy bows. It was an extra life thing. I promised everybody if I made my goal, I would wear pigtailed pink bows for a week. I am serving my time, so that's what this is about, just in case anybody has any questions.
So we
Talk
have
to me
to
after
suffer,
the show.
We have to suffer for his promise.
Yes,
Thanks,
the
guys.
quality of this
Yes.
show takes a hit because of extra life.
It shows his dedication for sick children.
Thank you.
Go.
Thank you. You make
Oh,
it
cute
serious.
little children.
Redeem my
Gotta-
public
I
image.
would,
Throw
I would
in a thing of
prefer
guilt.
that maybe you dedicate yourself to making them healthy.
Yeah. Those bows aren't making them.
Well, he is. I mean, he's not a doctor, so he's just giving money to other people to heal sick
indeed.
children.
Gosh, Sakari, you missed your calling.
I mean, I don't think we really want him wading in there with no experience attempting to heal
Well, maybe
sick kids,
maybe
do
next
we?
time there's going to be a cabaret show. I'll just promise that. See if that.
You can just grab vats of holy water and just dump them on
I
kids.
do like the makeup though. It's very
The makeup.
pink and pretty.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that was Jim. Jim did these, like Texas Gemini here on Twitch. She actually made Star Wars bows. Like the black ribbons in here are actually Star Wars. It's actually really cool. But I
I'm
promised the pink thing, so
totally- I am sad I cannot see it.
she sent them to me. Yeah, definitely go back and catch the episode in retrospect and see it. A lot of
Jem
fun.
is awesome.
Jem
She
is awesome.
had a show earlier today with Lady Daney.
About the
Oh.
bots and how they work.
Yeah, she's got a great show, so people should catch her. But she's
Our
awesome.
resident bot is the attendant as well. That's the one that we run for this show at Lady Daney Creation. So heck yeah. All right, so moving right along, the icebreaker question for the night. Usually for the icebreaker, what we talk about is just something to get the chat going here. Obviously, our discussion for the night is going to be user interfaces and basically how you interact with the game. Like, what do you see, how you arrange it on your screen, why, what controllers you use, all that kind of stuff. So, show and tell time, and we are going to start with Elise. Are you ready, Elise?
Wait,
for
before
the
we get
question?
started, can I just ask why there's a picture of Hoth up here in
It's
front of the icebreaker?
it's the icebreaker. So
It's literally
Okay.
breaking
when you
the
go
ice,
pew
get
pew
it?
at the ice, it breaks.
So he got excited.
Okay. Okay.
I got to explain
Okay.
it again.
Moving
Yes.
on.
All right. Okay. So this is why I'm going to give the question to Elise first. All right. She'll show me where I should probably make adjustments in the future.
No, it's just like,
Yeah, it's one of those jokes you have to explain.
Okay,
Okay,
I
it's
got
not
it.
funny.
I got it.
All right. So
I got
okay.
it, Sakari. I got it.
Thank you. It was
You're
a terrible pun, or yeah.
Unfortunately, Magic Hubby's, puntastic, so I get it.
Okay, good. Well, you got some practice then. Okay, so show and tell time. Let us see a screenshot of your SWTOR user interface. Explain why you've positioned the elements where you have. What decisions have you made with regard to the element sizes, their positioning? Have you moved anything around from the
Element
default?
sizes.
Yeah,
Okay.
like whatever's on there. Visibility, is there anything that you've turned off or turned on?
No.
And presentation, have you changed anything out or made it different in some way?
Hardly.
So you ready
Yes.
for this, Elise? We're going to show your user interface here. This is the screenshot that you sent in, and you get to tell us a little bit about it. Okay? So here it is. Okay. It is now on screen. So.
Okay. It's like one of the presets. Can't
Why is
remember
there
if
a
it's the
dude
classic.
in pink underwear?
I don't know. That would have been a good question to ask. I was standing on Fleet, and I think that's all I need to say, right?
Yep. Hey, I found a dude that looks like Hollywood Hulk Hogan on Fleet one time. Okay, so there's some stuff out there.
Okay, so Elise, we were discussing a little bit before the show that you had not felt too much of a need to make many changes with your user interface. You kind of went with one of the stock ones.
Right.
Not exactly, though, because there are definitely
It is.
things rearranged in here.
I swear to God, it's one of the ones when you click on the options.
And
It was
bring
like
it up.
the classic MMO, or you get like 8 different choices or something like that, and it's one of those.
Okay.
I want to
Change
say
that.
it was like the double bar or classic MMO or something like that.
Okay, but that has sufficed for you. It's done its job. You felt no need to make any changes.
And then the 2 wings kind of sort of on there are like those double bars that you can have on the one UI that run along the side of your screen. I just broke them up and put them at the bottom so they weren't in my field of view.
Yeah, that's the thing I was.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, but again, I didn't do anything specific. I have the group thing set up with the operations style, I
Okay.
guess. It's probably about the only other thing I changed.
I did that too.
You
You still have hints
can't see
enabled.
it, but I have.
At least in the
Yeah,
screenshot.
I do,
Hmm.
because I didn't turn them off. Like if I had focus on, it would pop up and to the right of the screen. But obviously, I'm not doing that here. So,
Right.
but other than that, I have the abilities set up in kind of the order that I would use them in importance and or frequency. All my heals are on the top bar, and damage abilities are on the bottom mostly.
Okay. Yeah. So that's there's some method to the arrangement of where
Correct.
you've chosen to put the skills. Absolutely.
My interrupt is always the second to last to the right of the top bar.
Okay.
Because it's what's that squiggly thing, whatever that thing's called, where you bring up the console commands on another game. That, whatever
Tilde.
that is. Yes, thank
Yeah, I think
you.
it's the tilde or the
But I have that
grav.
matched.
The grav.
So,
Your names.
and I put that in there on every character, so I remember, because it's the only thing I key mapped. This is my interrupt. That's it.
Okay, absolutely. All right, so let us talk about who was next up. Who did I next want to throw this in? Tell you what, let me take a shot at this.
You.
Let's
You're
me
next.
do this. Okay, so here's mine. What I have found, I watch a lot of streamers, just kind of tune in and see what they have set up. And one of the things that really bothers me about a lot of people's UIs is how they have the skill bars. They'll have like layers of like 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, like
Yes.
right dead center, and it covers
Oh,
up
gosh,
your
I hate
character.
that.
So you have to zoom way far out of your character so that you can actually see your person. So I came up with a split user interface so that I can zoom in more with my character and have more of a full body shot. It also helps for screenshots as well. So that's been my deal. One of the things I really reduced the size of the elements. That's one deal I made, because I really like having more that I can see, and I just want the user interface to be there to help me along, but not necessarily to dominate what I'm doing.
I supersized mine, so that's different.
Right, and so there's been another thing that's been a more complicating problem for me with my UI, is that I've had to arrange the elements in a lot of ways because I'm streaming and I do all of these big fancy layouts. And so I had to like arrange the user elements around my interface so that it would go well into my my regular streaming window. Because I kind of cover the top left chat bar with some stuff, and it's been more complicated in the past. I simplified it not that long ago. But so what I tend to do is put more of my elements in the bottom right, and that allows me to just kind of have that offset, and it's all just down there, kind of in one place, as opposed to all over the. I also have a very big screen, so I like having all my elements kind of close together. And then the way that I group my skills, that little left bar on the left under my character portrait is all my attack skills. I always put my interrupt is always on, I think, Shift E. My basically it's like that. My breaker is Shift E. My interrupt is always Shift 5. That kind of a thing. But all my attack skills on the bottom right, bottom left, and the bottom right is stuff that I have key mapped to various buttons on my mouse. So that's kind of the plan for me. I struggle with the user interface a lot, trying to make it actually useful, So.
Nice.
All right. Okay. So next up, Magic. Are you ready for us to show yours?
What? No.
Yes, absolutely. Here we go. Magic's user interface.
So mine's semi-stock, but I have changed quite a few things, like nudge things around and moving them, because after so many years of playing, like, it's slowly evolved into where I've got things like smaller and pushed out farther from my screen. Like, I make my global overall like smaller because I hate it, like how cluttered it looks sometimes, especially when I picked this one so you could see all the stuff I have on the right, like all my missions that are tracked. I don't like untracking a lot of missions because I don't ever go in and check. I forget all the time. So I want to see all my missions that are out there. But the thing that I've got the most is the way I have my key set up. All my heals are always the same. All my AoEs are always the same. All my interrupts is always like number 12 on my mouse, because my UI is set up to work for this mouse. It's a red dragon with the 12 buttons on the side. Mm-hmm. It's got the little buttons up here. Like, this is my gameplay style now. I'm halfway in between clicker and keybinder, and it's because when I first started playing, I had a crappy laptop and a crappy mouse, and I had to play with the arrows, mm-hmm. and my pinky would use the 0 button as a jump, and I never used WASD. I always kept my hands up here for tab. My left hand would hit tab with my pinky, and I would move my fingers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hitting those buttons, and then click the other buttons on my actual bar. So I had to have my bar visible where I could see everything, because I didn't have anything keybound. I didn't know what keybinding was. It was my first game. So as I've evolved and learned some keybinds, this is my setup. Basically just things I don't use all the time, like especially you'll see my speeders, the things that I don't use constantly, like say in a raid or PvP, they're up at the top, kind of out of the way. The things that I use the most are down close to the right side, which is why the right side of my screen is more cluttered than the left, because I'm right-handed, and moving my mouse and stuff, the least amount of movement would be the bottom right of my screen. So majority of my stuff I want to keep near the bottom right. My target would pop up just to the left of the raid frame. So, right. I mean,
you function a lot like me. I do that a lot as well. Is everything's something down there on the right because I'm right-handed, and I tend to prefer to be, if I'm going to click something, I want it in that side of the screen. So, and my achievement tracker stuff, because I'm an achievement junkie and I have to have stuff, I have it all on the right, because all on the left, like on the far left, and I have it toned way down, like it's not near as bright and bold like my current missions that I'm doing. Because like, say if I'm trying to get to 1,000 kills with Skadge, because God knows that takes forever, because I hate Skadge, I have that tracked over there. Skadge hates you too.
Yeah, he does. I complain about his back fat and flaps, and he doesn't like it. But I just have it faded out so that I can look and keep track, but it's not constantly in my field of view. Because, again, when I'm in an operation, I don't want that. I will say, however, my Warzone one is a little bit different from this whenever I'm going into PvP. And that's just because everything except for people's names is a lot smaller. Because I'm usually just going in as a healer. Mm-hmm. The only difference when I go in as like my PvP operative is the 2 rows under my name are all keybound. I use shift on the bottom row because I'm DPS and I'm using my heals at the same time, because as an operative you're a tiny bit squishy and those heals are important. And also I have it spec'd where I take less damage if I have 2 Colto probes on me. So I have that stuff all key bound so that I can keep it together. And what's funny is my heels I have underneath where those heels would be on my healing operative. So that's the only difference. Otherwise, this is pretty much exactly what I do every time, always.
Pretty cool. Like, I enjoy seeing how people customize, because usually, you know, their play style and the uniqueness about how they play really reflects, I think, in their UI when they start to do that. Redna, what about you, sir? What do you have for us?
So I hate having stuff in the lower right-hand side, so I put it to the
Contrarian.
Right.
That's funny.
So I take
that
the
bugs me
mini-map
so
because
much.
it's not going to. It's the top right in particular is the least likely to interact or to interfere with my field of view concerning other players coming at me.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to put that up there, and actually directly underneath the mini-map is where the achievements would scroll down. And at the bottom right, the quests that I'm tracking scroll up from there.
And you also put your chat stuff, right? Is that what I'm seeing down there at the bottom left?
Yeah, chat's on the bottom left because that's where my head is when I stream. So it sort of covers it up.
Yeah, it's fine. I wonder whether or not I shouldn't move mine down because it frequently gets covered up by operation squares for me whenever I'm in.
So, Renda, you have. I noticed that a lot of streamers like to cover up their chat. That's probably a very wise choice
do that.
if you're a streamer. But I think it's interesting that those of us that do show our screens publicly do that for that, just so that we don't end up causing drama because somebody sees our private messages or something.
I'll just tell you this. There's been many a time someone's whispered me in operation like, oh my freaking gosh, can you believe this? Blah, 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 blah. Or I've done the same thing. I don't want something like that to pop up. And then someone's watching my stream and I don't know it's that person. They're like, oh, well, screw this person, like mess me over. I don't generally talk about people behind their back. But when I'm in rage over, like, say, an operation where someone insanely does something like they know they shouldn't do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or like they're like, oops, sorry, I hit Alt F4 or something dumb like that. I'm like,
or where they blame the healer because they died. They did something.
Oh
dumb.
god,
but that's what the chat room is for. I don't need to be typing any nonsense. I just tell the chat room how idiotic the dumbass moron I'm playing with is.
Well, let me put it this way: like if I'm pugging with one of my guild mates, but we're in a raid that's not our guild, I don't want to tell the other people, hey, you suck. But I don't mind telling my other guildie, wow, let's avoid these people next time. Just saying. Yeah. There's sometimes I don't want people to see my chat. So my chat's up at the top left. My face in my stream is right over that.
Very wise, yes indeed. Yes. So, Rena, I've noticed that with your one, you have maximized.
Well, okay, so the bottom is the actual very, very bottom row is 1 bar, and then you've got 3 bars on top of that set into 3x4 segments. So that's actually, I guess I could even. It matches my mouse, which has got its buttons this way, so that when I look at it, right in the middle is unadjusted 1, 2, 3 down a row 4, 5, 6 down a row 7, 8, 9 down a row 10, 11, 12, or it's actually. But num 0.
So you have everything mapped to
equals.
a button on your mouse, and then where it is on the grid tells you where you should click it on your mouse.
Right, and then it's just shifted on the left hand part. And then I have a few others because actually I never got addicted to the ASDW either. It seemed a lot more limiting and prevents me from using more keys. So I'm actually an ESDF. So then I can use the AQWRTGVZXC buttons that all surround my movement buttons a lot more freely, and then 1 through 5 and whatever.
Right.
And those ones are always key bound to similar abilities. So like I've always got my stun is always my R. Okay. If I've got a slow, it's always my W. If I don't have a slow, then I will usually put like an entangle or snare on that. Some other form of CC. AoE or second stuns often will go onto my bottom, but my 10 button on my mouse. So it used to be my flashbang was an AoE, and then they took that away from me, and I'm very upset about it.
So now there's nothing in that box.
No, it's there. It's just it only hits one target now.
That is kind of sad.
And I also put defenses on the bottom for the unadulterated, and so it's like the top 6 are all of my. Actually, no. let's see. Number 4 is always my interrupt. And then 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Well, 5 is always an AoE, and 6. So 1, 2, 3, and 6 are the whatever your priority is for your damage output. I usually just put those in order and how I want to light up my target, and then I hit Shift and do the same keys to any of the others that need to be stuffed in amongst that.
Right.
Yeah, V's always my CC break. H, I guess in this case, oh, that's right. H is hunkered down because it's an H.
H for hunker. I suppose it makes sense.
My Z is always a sprint or a tumble or some sort of, quick move ability. So, yeah, actually, I have everything keybound. I don't click at all, which I know is actually pretty unusual. I even have, my quick travel is Control Q. I've got my buffs are always Control 1, Control 2, or my regen. And that's keyboard 1s and 2s. So that's the other thing I always did is I changed my mouse number buttons to be the number pad buttons. That way I can still use the numbers over the letters as separate keys that I can keybind. Yeah. So I end up binding literally everything. Oh, actually, there are 2 things on there that I don't have keybound. It would be my kick the hut ball and my Jawa for PvP.
The Jawa, yeah.
So how... If you healed, though, you wouldn't have that option, because I don't know a way to heal and not have to click at least a little, because how do you pick their raid frames? By the time you, cycle through, I have tab as my tab
never
target.
Leaves the raid frame. It just sits on top, and I'm just switching between people and clicking the different heals that I've keybound.
So you do have to click. Okay, I was just checking, because I have to do some clicking. And Magic Hubby says he's keybound, and I'm like, you are keybound, but you still click. He's like, no, I don't. Like, yes,
this is an interesting debate.
Click raid frames.
Yeah, because it's if you keybound your skills, or do you keybind to select group members, or enemies or whatever. It depends on how much of a purist you are.
All of my abilities and items are keybound.
Right. Every slot, every quick
the
bar
other
slot.
Thing is, because I know that I don't know if you guys had it. One of the things that I would personally really like to improve on that I haven't done very well at yet is that there's actually a whole bunch of keybinds that are inside your preferences that a lot of people don't know about. In particular, there are things like cast this ability on target of target. So as a DPS or a tank, if I wanted to throw my guard around to somebody else, I could actually, or a heal or something, I could actually say a healer is targeting me and I'm targeting the boss. They want to throw a damage ability without taking me off of their target. There's a way that you can cast abilities that way. And I don't have a tendency to have, I don't have them bound at all. There's also a lot of really interesting tanking ways to manipulate. And I've never stepped up to do that. And that's the one thing in particular. If I ever got bored enough to really go hog wild, I would start digging through all those extra keybinds.
Right. I used to use that one, but then when I swapped to this computer, it never dawned on me to find it again, and I honestly can't even remember now. It's been so long. So I should look for that again.
All that just, wow. I can't imagine not getting confused and what button I'm pushing. Looking at yours.
Well, that's why it's actually, I used to actually have the 3 sets of 12 separated from each other more, just so that I could visually identify it as, okay, there's my mouse pad design. But as I've gotten really comfortable with it, I've actually moved them all together just to make it a little cleaner. So it's really hard to tell that I actually have it laid out that way.
I'm at the stage. I'm at the stage now where a lot of my UI, I don't even look to see where a particular skill is. I know when I hit 2 what's going to happen. So what I use it down for now is cooldowns and for procs. That's the only thing I really watch my UI for. Other than that, it's just not,
Making sure something comes off a cooldown is pretty much the only thing I'm ever waiting on.
Right. Okay.
All right. Well, it's time for the question of the week.
Yes.
So this week we asked folks, how do you play SWTOR? Are you primarily a keybinder, a mouse clicker, or a controller user? So it's time for us to ask the Lady Danny bot, our attendant, or Sakari, Let's put the graphics
I
up.
think the thing is question. Let me try here. There you go. Here it comes. I guess it would have helped to have some foresight on that, but okay, here we go. So, for SWTOR, are you primarily A, a keybinder, B, a mouse clicker, or C, a controller user? Now, how are we defining controller? Because I think it's important for this question.
Like this, like a controller?
Okay, like any kind of hardware probably that is something other than a keyboard and a mouse.
I wouldn't necessarily say that because trackballs are, depending on how you classify them. I mean, they're a mouse, but they don't look a thing like mouse, like standard mice. So I really, when I think of a controller,
talking about a console controller.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so feel free to vote in chat. Let us know. We'll get back to Devil PvP says he clicks everything.
You go, man.
I don't know if I believe that because I've seen him streaming. But yeah, feel free to answer in chat, and we will we'll compare your results in a second to the.
And I would just like to say, I'm looking at the actual results now, and there was considerably more than what I expected for one of those. So.
Okay, so are we going to discuss what we all are just real quick, and then go into the results?
Yeah, can I go first?
Sure. Why not?
Okay. So as I said, depending on if it's like my DPS operative or my heal operative, it completely changes what I do. It's almost completely keybound if it's my PvP operative. Like, completely. However, just saying, if I'm on a healer, I usually just have one roll of heals. Like, I use 1 through 8, sometimes 9, like on my Sork 9. And I use those keybound, and I don't need the other ones keybound, really. But on my, like, say, my mercenary, I also use the DPS often. And so I have a couple of things keybound on that. But there's a lot of clicking. And because I'm primarily a healer, I'm already mentally thinking click, because I have to click raid frame and such to get people's name. So to me, like, I don't know that I'll ever not be able to be a clicker. So this question, even though we had to do it for the sake of the poll, annoys me because I am both. I am a keybinder and a mouse clicker. And when you say primarily, I'm like, well, that completely depends on my class then. So let's say if I'm a healer, I'm a keybinder. So I voted keybinder.
Well,
but
which is your primary class? You can use that to help figure that out.
Healer.
Well, I recently started doing a
that's
whole
your
lot
role.
of DPS.
Oh, so now you're changing.
But,
yeah, okay.
but see, that's the thing is, like, I heal everything. And I don't have a primary heal class. I'm not as skilled an operative by myself. But if I have another healer with me, I can still kick butt as an operative healer. So in an op, it's not a negative. Like in PvP, it's a negative for me to be on my operative healer. But see, like, that's the thing is, like, it totally depends for me. It's completely different. So this question was super difficult. I picked keybinder specifically because all my heals are keybound. But I'm also a clicker. Okay, now, next.
Okay. Redna, let's go clockwise. So Redna, how about you?
I keybind everything. Didn't we just say this?
Yes. Yes. I don't think you need to ask him again.
Okay, moving right along.
He has said he's a keybinder.
Yeah.
I swear I was listening. Okay. Elise, what about you?
I am primarily a mouse clicker.
Okay.
Although, in every other game I play on the PC, I play when I can with a controller. But I can't play this game with a controller because I would have had to do an emulator and all that crap, and I just couldn't. It's just too confusing.
Right.
I really only started playing on the computer in 2014. I was a console player.
You
console
are
player
by heart
prior to that.
a console
exactly,
player. Right.
Exactly. So, and I jumped from this to the PlayStation to the Xbox and back. And so for me to try and to memorize 12 buttons would just be impossible. So
I thought so too, Elise. I played console for this game. I too thought that. It takes a long time.
Especially when you jump into operative, you're like, how many skills are there? And why do they keep coming?
Exactly.
Operative, my goodness, there's so many dang skills.
So I just, and to be honest with you, I don't care enough to want to put that amount of time into it. I'm not disparaging anybody who does.
Blasphemy.
Everybody plays the game the way they want, but just for me, I would rather be playing the game than be sitting there trying to memorize where I put this.
That's the
and
person
I
with
honestly
the
agree.
decorations wanting to play house.
Right. Thank you.
But that's how
Don't
she
need
wants
to
to play.
keybind to put decorations in my strong.
Clearly.
Keybind
Although
your
now I
stronghold.
really want to
Play
try.
the game.
That's
Could
hilarious.
you would have
So-
everything on your keyboard keybound to put down specific decorations. Oh,
Oh my god. Could you imagine?
Why can't I
And then
macro
try-
this?
The other thing that really annoys me too is when I start like trying to mess with keybinds, then I end up messing up something
Yeah,
that was there that I
unmapping
needed
something.
it to
Yeah.
exactly to unmap something, and then I don't
Right.
realize it until I go to use it, and suddenly it's like gone. So I don't like messing with the stock
Yeah.
most of the time. So.
Oh, the immediate keybind I used to do on every single character until they allowed me to save my keybinds was I hated that Q and E were your strafe. I moved those down to
Yeah.
A and D. That's the first thing I would do on
those
every
annoy
character.
me so much. I'm
That was
like,
so
oh my gosh.
counterintuitive. Yeah, it's just yeah.
Yeah.
So
there you
if
go.
I was to answer this question, I would say I'm probably about 85% keybinder and the rest of it a clicker. And the only reason is because if it's anything I have to use in combat, it's keybound. And if it's like my quick travel and my ship travel and any kind of toys that I want to use or that old stuff, I just keep on those sidebars and those I click.
too.
But I don't want to waste click stuff that I could use on a better keybinds that I could use on a better skill.
That's why this mouse
So-
saved me. I wasn't near the keybinder until I got this mouse. Once I got this mouse, I'm like, I can never go back.
Yeah, you do get spoiled when you start going
The
hex
The
and
mouse
higher.
is the biggest, hugely spoiling.
Mhm.
It is.
And I started playing this game with a
You
regular
can stop
old.
Alt and Control binding
I
and just use Shift.
Can't do that.
That's very nice.
I started playing this game, well, all of my PC games, with a regular old mouse. So there was no key binding
Right.
on my mouse.
Like a Mac mouse, you got like the one
Exactly.
button.
Exactly.
Well, that's
There
why
was-
my push to talk has always
No.
been the wheel button. Not the wheel itself, but pushing the wheel button down.
Mine's this little button
Yeah.
right underneath. The thing I have tab is mapped right underneath it,
Push
so
the
I
torque
can
right here. Same for me.
simultaneously look at an enemy while talking to someone. All I have to do is just swap buttons back and forth. I actually don't have anything mapped for the pressing down of the mouse button. This interesting little red button right here, that is my whisper button. I have Discord set up to where I can whisper Magic Hubby,
So,
so I
button-
can whisper him too.
The button immediately under the wheel is my auto run. And the button below that
Really?
is the mount up.
Oh baby!
that's cool.
I mean, yeah, right.
It actually makes sense to have auto run mapped to something on your mouse. Because me, I hate it's default mapped to numlock, and that bothers me because then it's messing around. Like if I auto run, then I
Really?
unbind all of the stuff that's on my mouse because that's bound to the numbers on the
Mm-hmm.
keypad. Not
Right. And
That's
you're
one
constantly
thing that,
turning it on and off.
yeah. So that's
See, I
actually Red, and I'm glad you brought that up because I'm actually going to go in and make that modification now.
I didn't even know that was the case. I don't use that. I just push
I don't
the.
either.
Right.
What do I push to run? Shift? I can't remember.
Numlock is what mine does. It's numlock on mine.
Or I just
W.
do the two mark. Was it the two? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, because my
Alright.
push to talk is the backslash key, so I don't.
I also I have this keyboard that has macros on the side. It's also a Red Dragon, and I have a couple of those mapped to where like it'll grab my companion and put them as my focus, or it'll because I never click those, and there's no way I'm going to put them on my mouse. So another
Right.
one is set to where I'll mount up by clicking that one. So that's a keybind that I also didn't mention because it's not on a standard keyboard. But
Yeah, I actually have two macros myself. I've got 5 buttons, but I only use 2 of them. One is, and the chat room will
4,
appreciate
8.
this.
8.
One is the most incredible macro ever. It auto does something for me for my chat room. And then the
that is
other,
cool.
It doesn't
There's
do
a
anything in
long-
the game, SWTOR. BioWare
No.
doesn't. One click is one action.
it puts a bunch of Big Macs in the chat room. That's all that matters.
The last thing we want is to get ourselves kicked out of SWTOR because here we are
And then
confessing that we.
the other one is a long combination string of buttons that I just like made this huge string so that I can mute, unmute for my microphone for my stream as well.
Right.
Yeah, I was about to say that's what mine is. Mine's
Very
not
wise.
it's not programmed macros. I'm using a macro key to use the same key binding I would other keys so that I don't accidentally hit them. They're off of my normal movement of my fingers. So it's not a programmed macro. I'm using the macro key for it the same normal keybind I would on a normal keyboard. So clarification,
Yes.
I'm not using macros.
Good
I'm
clarification.
using the macro key.
Hey, let's get to results because we need to move along. So, results are on the screen.
All right, excellent. So the winner was the keybinder at 68%. And by the way, thank you everybody for voting. This was quite a lively poll, like the lively polls. 897 total votes at least when this graphic was pulled. I don't know if we had any last minute contenders or not, or when Sakari pulled it off, but for mice it's 29%, and for controllers is 3%, but that's 29 votes.
That's
a lot of votes.
And it was rock solid at 3% the entire time.
I think that is awesome. So to you guys who are playing this game with the controller, I give you...
They're rocking along in their Xbox.
Yeah, that's some mad props. I mean, 3 out of 100. That's actually a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm really
I
impressed.
really want to try it now. I just want to know. Like, how would I make it work?
It's more than 3 out of 100.
Awesome.
Yeah. So,
is it like what kind of controller? That's what I want.
Yes, that's the percentage. But it's 3 of 100 of 891 people.
Right.
So that's like, I don't know. What's 3 times 18? 8 or something. That's probably
29 votes, bro.
29
it says it right there.
votes.
Oh.
So
I suppose I could bring the graphic back up, but yes, indeed.
So I imagine Magic Ace for the controller. The way that Dragon Age Inquisition was very much set up like an MMO, much like this, like SWTOR is, with the abilities. If you played it mouse and keyboard. And so if you used a controller, the toggles end up acting like shifts.
Yeah.
So your abilities were mapped to the Y, X, A, B, and then you would hold down the right toggle and it would shift to
this just
another
blows
set.
my mind. Like, what?
So and then you had the
blows,
buffers,
speaking
too.
of blows my mind, Oso used to play Star Wars Galaxies with a flight stick.
That would be
awesome.
freaking cool.
How do you even do that? That's awesome. Well, if you play the jump to light speed, that would make a lot of sense.
I wonder if you could
It
set
reminds me
up
of
a
the
joystick
N64
for...
where you had the trigger down here. That's how I would want to play it.
GSF would be kind of interesting if I could play that on a joystick.
Mm-hmm. That would be pretty fun, I would think. Yeah, when I started this game, I played with 2 people who both played it on a controller. So
I don't know how you could play this game on a controller. There's just too many skills. There's too many actions in the game that
If I could use my
You'd have to
controller and my
prioritize.
mouse, it would be okay.
But how often do you use all of those skills? I mean, do you reuse... I would imagine there's like 6 or 8 that are really your like foundational abilities, and the other ones are situational.
Well, see, it depends on what you're doing. Because
but
if
think-
I'm
I have
in
to think about that.
operation, I'm
Think
primarily
about it. You can't
healing.
even use your mouse to like click something because you don't have a mouse. You've got the joystick to be moving your wand around.
Yeah, I couldn't do
Right.
that. That would just drive me crazy. I'd be like,
You would have to set a number of buttons up with multiple abilities on a priority if you wanted to avoid breaking terms of service or else actually start macroing stuff.
I mean, I don't know. I just know they had some emulator that like let them map certain buttons to a certain button on the controller. But again, I didn't want to have to do that, so I never played it that way. So I have no idea the actual like function, how they actually did it. So
I will
can't-
say this mouse, though, got me so freaking spoiled that I can like have my kids in one arm, like sitting on my lap, because I often have a child on me while I'm playing the game. And so like I have run and stuff, like I can run with this, I can shoot with this, I can do all the abilities, I can heal with it. Like I can do everything one-handed, which is why I always make the joke, sorry guys, I'm healing one-handed, because I usually got a kid on me, okay, or I'm eating. And the thing about this is like when I went to play Mass Effect, I hated that I couldn't run because I had to use WASD.
Yeah.
I got so upset and I was so frustrated because I couldn't keep playing the game while I was taking care of my kid. My husband's like, wait, I got this. He set it up to where it keybound one of these side buttons that isn't used because the bar is so short. Like there's less of a usage bar on Mass Effect. that this button here is my run button, so I can actually run with that too. He's figured out how to make it work to my other games where I can be just as spoiled as I am in Star Wars. Okay, I just want to tell everybody that I'm spoiled.
No wonder you like him. Yeah, he's your controller dealer.
Yes. He's the one who actually got me this mouse when we were dating, so it's all his fault that I'm so spoiled.
So this is kind of a big topic, the whole idea, because if you think about it, everything's kind of related. You have, on one hand, user interfaces. That's how you see the game and how you perceive the game. You know, what information is available to you. Like, you know, like we all use our cooldowns for different reasons, or, you know, or like the cooldown, the UI, help me here, the quick bars for a different reason. We all use those for different reasons. You know, and then a lot of us are using to select people, either you were clicking or, you know, there's a lot to it, just the user interface. And then you have the controllers that you're using, whether it's a controller or a keyboard or a mouse, and then how you have those things mapped. There's a lot to this conversation. I don't even know where to start here, because, I mean, on one hand, we have hardware. On the other hand, you have how we've got stuff mapped in the software. So we have mentioned macros. Let's start the conversation with macros. Understandably, macros are not, are against the terms of service. The idea is that for every thing you click, and you can modify like a shift, whatever. You click something, one action happens in the game. They want it to be that way, so you can't chain stuff up.
Which I had never heard of, by the way, before Magic Heavy. So
I know of them. I know of them theoretically, but
yes. Well, I know of them.
I was like, you can do what?
I know of them because well, though I would never want one to hear like string my rotation. I want to control my rotation, for instance.
Yeah.
But I remember playing in Star Wars Galaxies way back in the day. One of the roles in that game was a doctor, and I remember doctors sitting in the spaceport, and they would be like, they'd have this whole thing macroed out, where it was like their character would say, "All right, just invite me to your group, and then I will, give you whatever buffs I have on hand." So you just invite this guy to your group, and then the macro would automatically accept. The macro would use all of their doctor buffs and give this person the extra, 5% of this and extra 10% of that. Once they're all buffed up, it would say in group chat, "Thank you, appreciate, whatever. Please, if you want to hook me up with a tip, go for it." And then it would leave the group. So and then they would be AFK. They'd be off doing something else, and their character would be sitting there farming tips in all as a result of a macro that was just running on loop. It was the coolest thing ever.
Fun. How is that fun? Why are you even bothering to pay the game if that's what you're doing?
Well, because he comes back and sees that he's got millions of gold in his pocket.
Yeah, not only has he made money, but also because doctors make their money, would make their experience administering all of those heals. So it's kind of like botting your... Yes, I totally agree with you, Elise. But I'm just saying that's where I learned about macros, about how awesome and powerful they could be. And then some people would do annoying things like every other move in a combat would be a slap. So it'd be like, use a skill, slap. Use a skill, slap. There'd be a lot of terrible...
That would be funny, though. I would love to be able to do that one kind of macro. It's just every time you go into someone, just like backhand slap them, smack, smack. Or, oh my gosh, like the scoundrel, the dirty kick, like crotch kick everything.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Just have it on a loop and a repeat.
Yeah, just continually chew.
So then you get to this game, and this game is like, we don't allow macros. And I'm like, so on one hand, I can see a use for macros.
There's a lot more to the macros, though, too. Like the, what was the big one in World of Warcraft was, like it would, the de-cleanser or whatever it was. Basically, it would just go through your group and cleanse anybody that had a debuff as it identified it automatically for you.
That's a role? That's all they do is de-cleanse? No.
Yeah.
Ew,
yeah.
Really?
Oh, no, that's not a role, but that's what the macro would do.
Oh.
So you wouldn't have to look at the group.
I thought that was like a role. You're going to be the de-cleanser, and you are the cleanser.
No, but you basically, you hit your button, and it just auto goes through your group and cleanses.
You're the buffer, you're the debuffer.
I get it. Right?
So that basically you never actually have to look and de-cleanse anybody. It auto de-cleanses anybody in the group for you. So there's ways to parse the information on the screen in order to get it to get the macro to interact differently. And actually macros themselves could get powerful enough to even modify your game experience by presenting information that isn't actually provided in the actual native display of the game. It can pull different data files from, like information from the combat files, and
But
then
that's
put stuff up on
so
your screen.
that's like coding against an API, though. That's like when there's something available in the game that you can pull that information from and then use it,
Like
almost
our
outside the game.
Yes, like our parsers.
Yeah.
Like our combat logs and parsers. It's the same thing, but there's a lot more information coming from the game to the user that they're able to manipulate and utilize.
They
But
have that
that's
in
right.
ESO.
They do generally have an API, and the game is actually designed in such a way as they intend for the community to be able to design these types of tools. And then the reason why a game like Star Wars: The Old Republic chose to go against that is because effectively what you end up having to do then is create boss fights with the assumption that people have these crutches that they lean on,
Right.
and that are doing their job for them. So, and then you actually have to work harder with that in mind. And it can be really annoying for the programmers to have to pay attention to the scope of what they're programming for that exceeds what they actually designed the game as.
Right. I mean, so I'm thinking right now of what's the first boss in Terror from Beyond, that nasty bug guy, the one that looks like I forget his name, but he's the one where periodically, he's the one who spits all that stuff, but like periodically,
Yeah.
Somebody
The one with the jealous male.
Yes, that's the one. And so you have to tag team with the other healer to make sure that the cleanses are going out, because I mean somebody's got
Well, in hard mode, because now in story mode it doesn't matter.
Right. But I mean, like, I remember like hard mode raiding that, and we had to get in there, and like me and the other healer, where it was like trading off like the tank swaps, Okay, got the cleanse, got the cleanse, got the cleanse, got the cleanse, and if you've got some macro running it, both of those healers could just load up the macro, and that is no longer a challenge anymore. It's done. So
Yeah.
I can see some sense from that perspective.
All it ends up being is that you're programming something in that might be a global cooldown that they have to work around, but
Right.
they're still not having to actually do the job themselves.
So now, Elise, let me bring you in on something, because I think when we were talking about this topic earlier in the week, one thing we all know about ESO is and it was one thing I couldn't get over when I started the game. I started playing that game out at launch. It started at launch. Nobody had created any cool UIs
ESO.
yet.
What are you guys talking about? What is
Elder
ESO?
Scrolls Online.
Elder Scrolls Online. Okay.
Oh yes, I knew that.
Okay.
So
I thought that was some offensive term.
No, it is an
You
offensive term
ESO.
here. So anyway, so I started playing that game, and the user interface in that game is super simplified, because they made it open with an API, knowing that people would come in and they said go crazy with the mods, enjoy.
Yep.
And so people did that, and you install your mod, and you have it's almost like you can take the parsing information and create that as a part of your user interface if you want to, which is something very different. Here, Star Wars
that.
Galaxies made that information exportable from the game so that people could create parsers and such. But it's interesting to me that the two separate approaches those companies have taken, where one was like, go for it, have fun with the mods, like mod up your UI all you want. The other one, it's against the terms of service. Mm-hmm. And I wonder what accounts for that kind of thing.
I don't know.
I will say I like the parse window that pops down and tells me what my heals are, because if I'm going to parse against another healer on my crappy computer, I'm going to work my butt off to beat them, because then if they've got a better computer than me, I'm like, I saw it! I kicked your butt and I've got a worse computer! Yes!
Screenshot.
So which is why I don't star parse people. That's why I don't do this.
You don't get a choice if you want to get into Veteran Nightmare or whatever the hard
Not
mode
true.
these
All
days.
you have to do is try out. Once you prove that you can do it, you don't have to run it every single time.
Oh, if you're healing, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
As long as everyone stays alive, you're good.
Exactly. That speaks for it.
Speaking of going back to the whole mods and whatever that you put on your game, I think it's nice that you can add and subtract things. So there are people there's mods that actually remove information that you can see, so that it makes it like for explorers that want to find everything. There's mods you could do that. They have so many in ESO. It's fine that SWTOR doesn't want to necessarily do that, but my issue is there's not even like an app to be able to look at like your gear, like to look at your like inventory screen when you're out of game, and wow, you can do that. It just I don't understand why we can't even make something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like that's
Right. So, or like games outside of the thing, or the ability to send your companions out.
Yes, that's what I
gosh,
want. That's what I was going to say. If I could send my companions off on cruise skills, that'd be
give
great.
me a mobile app for me to be able to do my crafting. Heck
Exactly.
yes.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
I would love that.
And I don't know how that would be hurting someone else's experience or making the game harder for the developers. Do you know what I mean? Like in Destiny,
that's why I never
they
have
apps that the community members make, and the Destiny developers, I guess, make the code available for them to work with or whatever, and they have to apply and be approved by the developers. So it's not like this stuff is happening without their ability to be able to approve it. So it boggles the mind that there's all these other games who do it, but yet SWTOR just won't.
Yeah, it's very much a black box. It's like, they're like, here's our client. We're going to lend it to you. It's not yours. Okay? So you got to treat it real nice. You're not allowed to open it. We want the gift wrap to stay nice and pretty. You can hold it for a while, but we don't want you to open it. We don't want you to use it.
And also, coming from the perspective of people who maybe have various disabilities, if you have colorblind, playing this game can really be challenging.
Yeah, that's been a big contention point in the community since this game launched.
Right.
And they have done very little to address any kind of
Battlefront. There's no modes for that already.
Right. I mean, there's no way to make this game more accessible from a third party to be able to make things, people who have mobility issues or, hand functionality issues or whatever, to be able to play the big game easier. So I just think this is, again, SWTOR leaving money on the table if they don't care, if there's no concern about anything else. It's something really I would encourage them to look at going forward, really.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to it. I feel like they were like, I don't know, here's the game. We want to keep it simple. All of that may turn into lawsuits, and we don't want lawsuits. Whatever. I don't know.
Remember that this game didn't even allow you to change your UI originally, at all. You could have standard or extended bars, and you could turn on your ability bars, hide them or reveal them, and that was it.
Oh goodness!
You
couldn't even drag a window around. You couldn't move anything. It was just that's your half of the screen.
Move.
And I think that's great that they've moved forward. I just always wonder, it's at a snail's pace, though.
Yes.
And I don't know if that's because of the hardware they're dealing with, or if there's something else we don't know about. If there's an internal timer that's going off that they're making judgment calls about, profit.
There is some UI stuff coming out with 5.6, to be totally fair. So here in the 28th, we're supposed to see something. They haven't gone into any details as to what it is, though. But
I'm actually kind of interested because it's been a few years since we had a good UI improvement.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'll be honest, this is one of the most advanced UIs I have seen in any game. That I've ever played.
The way that we can manipulate it, it's actually really impressive.
Right. To be completely fair, the fact that you can snap it to a grid, that you can adjust the size of the grid, it's pretty advanced, compared to a lot of what's out there.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know. It's the only one I've ever had.
You never mess with it?
No, I never played an MMO for more than a month. I'd play for a little bit and be like, oh, this is boring, I'm done. And I'd leave.
Well, and I play on
console,
so there's none of that. There's none of that stuff on console, so I don't even bother with it, really. Not really.
Yes, indeed.
Anyway.
Well, actually, in a lot of ways, the manipulation of your UI layout and everything, it's kind of like the same conversation between, Android or Apple. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, Apple is a beautiful, streamlined, wonderful experience as long as you don't want to change it. And Android lets you change it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the design philosophy.
I wonder which camp Redna is in.
That's honestly the only reason why
I know what kind of phone Android. I know what kind of phone Redna has, so.
I think I know what kind of phone you have.
I know, right?
we all have our personalities doing that. That's hilarious.
Wait, Sakari, what kind of phone do you have? Now I gotta know.
Oh, I'm an Android user. Proud. I know that all
Me too.
I'm both. It depends on my mood. This time around, I got an iPhone. Last time I got an Android. The time before that, I got an Android. The time for that, I got an iPhone. It just depends on what I feel like at the
I'll
time.
admit I'm really kind of pleased to have the iPhone X in the house. It might be my wife's.
Really? Yeah.
But it is a fun little device.
I'm actually surprised Redna
don't
didn't
care.
say, "Oh, I've got some third party something that somebody coded it, that I know." Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, Magic, you want to wrap us up? I think we're probably around that time.
I will, but FYI, be warned, if I push mute, someone else pick it up because my daughter woke up and she's on my lap. So thank you to everyone in the community. Everyone who's watching right now, who is interacting in our chat, who is in our straw poll, people who will listen to the podcast, and even people who's going to watch our gorgeous faces and Redna's epic hair on YouTube. Thank you so much.
Yes.
We appreciate it. And we love that you love this game because it gives us the opportunity to do this. I mean, we'd probably do it without you because we love it, but we love that you love it. And we love that you're involved. So thanks. We really appreciate it.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, did we already go over where we can find everybody, or was I? Oh, that's you. Never mind. Go on. I was doing the thank yous for Magic. Keep going.
That's okay. And I'm very thankful for Magic too. Which brings us to the end of the episode. The council is adjourned. If you'd like to Oh, I can't see because this is in the way. If you'd like to reach us, you can email us at thecouncil@thecouncilswotor.com. You can find Elise on Twitter at abrown35. Don't want to know what that 35th Brown is.
I know, right?
Magic Ace at the Magic Ace, spelled properly with a joke in the middle, JK. Me at R3GN4.
Goodness.
And Sakari at he is Sakari, but he spells it I am Sakari. Don't forget to visit our website, www.thecouncilswotor.com, and follow us on all of our social medias. You can find it at the website. Go there. Also, don't forget our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/thecouncilswotor. That's it for this week, guys.
What are we?
The Council SWTOR.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's the Council SWTOR, but it might just be the Council SWTOR.
It does get a little bit redundant after a while, but that was kind of the design, so.
We
Sue
just
me.
want to be found, okay? Find us.
Yeah.
The Council SWTOR.
And I guess I must say I have a bad feeling about this.
Sounds about right. See you guys next week.
Bye.
I understand.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
What? How can you do this? This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master?
Take a seat, young Skywalker.
Forgive me, Master.